She was not afraid of the dark. She was afraid of what watched her from inside it. Every night, just before sleep claimed her, the little girl checked under her bed, not for monsters, but for certainty, for proof that nothing was there. And every night, she found only shadows, dust, and silence, until the night the shadows blinked. At exactly midnight, when the house was holding its breath and even the wind seemed to listen, she saw them. 2 eyes beneath her bed, red, still, endless, watching her as if they had always been there, waiting for the moment she was old enough to understand fear. She did not scream. She did not run, because somehow, deep in her bones, she knew the truth. Those eyes did not belong to a monster. They belonged to Dracula. And once you see his eyes, he never forgets yours. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss our dark, cinematic stories of suspense and horror. The little girl's name was Clara, and she was 7 years old when she learned that darkness could look back. Her bedroom was small and ordinary, the kind of room adults trusted without thinking twice. Pale walls, a wooden bed with a pink blanket tucked too tightly at the corners, a shelf of storybooks whose cheerful covers felt like lies once the lights went out. Her parents said monsters were inventions, tricks of imagination, shadows pretending to be more than they were. Clara wanted to believe them. Every night, she followed the same ritual. Pajamas, teeth brushed, a kiss on the forehead, the soft click of the light switch, her mother's footsteps fading down the hallway, silence settling into the house like dust. And then, waiting, Clara did not fear the dark itself. What frightened her was the space beneath her bed, the narrow gap where light could not quite reach, where dust gathered, where the floor creaked for no reason at all. She told herself it was empty. Still, she always checked. On this night, the air felt different, heavier, as if the room were holding something it did not want to release. Clara lay on her back, staring at the ceiling, listening to the clock in the hallway tick its slow, patient rhythm. Midnight approached. She turned onto her side, heart beating faster for reasons she could not explain. Her eyes drifted toward the edge of the bed. The darkness beneath it seemed thicker than usual, less like shadow and more like depth. "Nothing's there," she whispered. The words did not help. Clara slid one small hand off the mattress, fingers brushing the cool wooden floor. She leaned down carefully, her face level with the edge of the bed. At first, she saw nothing. Then the darkness moved. 2 shapes opened where there had been none. Not reflections, not tricks of light. Eyes. Red, not bright, but deep like embers buried under ash. They did not blink. They did not shift. They watched. Clara's breath caught in her throat. Her body froze, caught between screaming and silence. Every instinct told her to run, to call for her parents, to break the spell by making noise. But she didn't, because the eyes were not threatening. They were patient. A voice touched her mind, gentle and cold at the same time. "You see clearly." Clara pulled back, scrambling against the headboard, blanket clutched to her chest. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure it would wake the entire house. Who are you?" she whispered. The eyes remained steady. "Someone who has always been here." The darkness beneath the bed seemed to stretch, forming the suggestion of a face. Pale, sharp, elegant in a way that did not belong to nightmares. Clara felt no urge to look away. Fear was there, yes, but something else wrapped around it. Recognition. "You're not supposed to be here," she said, repeating words she had heard adults use when they wanted certainty. A faint smile appeared in the shadows. "And yet, you looked." The clock struck 12. The sound echoed unnaturally loud, as if the house itself had announced something important. Clara squeezed her eyes shut, counting under her breath. 1, 2, 3. When she opened them again, the eyes were still there, closer, not physically, but somehow more present. "What do you want?" she asked. The answer did not come right away. When it did, it felt heavier than the darkness. "Nothing tonight." Relief flooded her so quickly it made her dizzy. "I only want to know if you could see me." Clara swallowed. "Why me?" The eyes studied her, as if reading something written inside her bones. "Because you do not scream," the voice said, "and because you will remember." A sound creaked in the hallway. A floorboard. Her father turning in his sleep. The house asserting its normality. The eyes beneath the bed dimmed slightly. "We will speak again," the voice promised. The darkness folded on itself, becoming once more just shadow and dust. The space beneath the bed returned to being empty in the way adults trusted. Clara did not move for a long time. When sleep finally came, it was shallow and filled with dreams of red light and endless patience. In the morning, she told no one what she had seen, but she stopped checking under her bed, because now she knew, if you look once, Dracula knows where to find you again. Clara woke to daylight and the comforting lie of normal sounds. Dishes clinked in the kitchen. Her mother hummed softly. A car passed outside, tires hissing against the morning road. The world had not ended. The house had not changed. The space beneath her bed was empty again, just as it always had been. And yet, something had followed her into the day. Clara sat up slowly, pressing her palms against the mattress. Her heart felt steady, but alert, as if it were listening for a sound that had not yet arrived. She glanced toward the edge of the bed, without meaning to. Nothing. Still, she pulled her legs up quickly, as though the floor itself might remember. At breakfast, her parents talked about ordinary things. Weather, school, a neighbor's dog that kept escaping its yard. Clara stirred her cereal, watching the milk swirl, thinking of red eyes that did not blink. "Did you sleep well?" her mother asked. Clara hesitated. Words pressed against her tongue, desperate to be spoken. But something deeper, older, held them back. "Yes," she said. The lie tasted strange. At school, Clara found it hard to focus. Letters on the page blurred together. Every shadow beneath a desk caught her attention. When the classroom lights flickered briefly, her breath hitched before she could stop it. During recess, she stood at the edge of the playground, watching other children run and shout. Their laughter sounded too loud, too careless, as if they were tempting something to notice them. A girl named Lucy tugged at Clara's sleeve. "Why are you so quiet?" Clara shrugged. "Just tired." Lucy leaned closer. "My brother says there's something in our street at night. Something tall. He says it watches houses." Clara's stomach tightened. "That's not real." Lucy smiled, thrilled by the idea. "That's what makes it scary." That night, Clara delayed going to bed. She read slowly. She drank water in careful sips. She asked her father to leave the door open just a little. When the light finally went out, the darkness did not rush in. It waited. Clara lay on her side, facing the wall, blanket pulled up to her chin. She counted her breaths. 1, 2, 3. The clock ticked. At 11:59, the room felt fuller, as if the air had thickened with attention. Clara's fingers curled into the fabric of her blanket. Midnight arrived without a sound. She did not look under the bed. "You remember," a voice said, not aloud, but close. Too close. Clara squeezed her eyes shut. "Go away." A soft sound followed, like a breath taken in amusement. "You learn quickly," the voice said. "Most children look again." "Why are you here?" she whispered. A pause. "Because you saw me," the voice replied, "and because seeing opens doors." Clara felt a gentle pressure, as if the mattress dipped slightly near her feet. Her heart raced, but the fear was different now. Sharper, edged with something like curiosity. "I didn't invite you." "No," the voice agreed. "You recognize me." Clara swallowed. "What's your name?" The pause this time was longer. "Names are power," the voice said. "But you may call me what the stories do." Her breath caught. Dracula. The name settled into the room like a shadow, choosing its place. "I won't tell anyone," Clara said quickly. "I promise." A faint smile touched the darkness. "I know. Then what do you want from me?" Dracula's presence seemed to shift, drawing closer without moving. Nothing yet. That frightened her more than any threat could have. The floor creaked softly in the hallway. Clara's mother turned in her sleep. Life went on unaware. You hear the house breathe, Dracula observed. You feel the night listening. That is not a gift given often. I don't want it, Clara said, tears burning her eyes. You do not have to want it, the voice replied. You only have to keep it. The pressure lifted. The room lightened slightly, though the darkness remained. Sleep, Dracula said gently. Tomorrow you will notice more. And if I don't want to? Clara asked. A whisper brushed the edge of her thoughts. The night will notice you anyway. When morning came, Clara found small things had changed. She heard her parents' footsteps before they reached her door. She sensed when clouds passed over the sun. She knew when someone stood behind her without looking. And beneath her bed, though she never checked again, she felt a certainty settle. Dracula no longer needed to hide. He had taught the night her name. Claire began to understand the problem on the third day. It was not that Dracula followed her. It was that the world had grown louder, and only she seemed to notice. She woke before her alarm, eyes snapping open moments before the house stirred. She could tell which parent would wake first by the rhythm of their breathing through the walls. She knew when the mailman turned onto their street. She sensed the cat jump onto the fence outside before there was any sound at all. At first, she thought it was imagination. Adults said children imagined things when they were overwhelmed, when they needed attention, when they didn't understand their own fear. But Clara understood this fear perfectly. At school, the noise pressed in on her. Chalk scraping the board, chairs dragging, heartbeats, dozens of them, out of sync, overlapping, messy. She sat very still at her desk, hands folded, concentrating on keeping her breathing slow. The teacher called her name twice before she responded. Clara, are you listening? Yes, she answered quickly. It was true. She was listening to everything else. At lunch, she pushed food around her tray. The smell of it made her uneasy, not because it was unpleasant, but because it felt flat, like something important was missing from it. When another child cut their finger opening a juice box, Clara felt it before she saw it, a sharp awareness, like a bell rung softly inside her chest. She looked up just as the boy hissed in pain. Her stomach turned. She looked away. That night, she didn't wait for midnight. She sat on her bed with her legs crossed, lamp still on, staring at the space beneath it. I know you're there, she said quietly. The light flickered once. Then the room seemed to fold inward, shadows deepening until the lamp felt like a fragile thing pretending to be powerful. You called, Dracula said. I didn't say your name. You didn't need to. Clara swallowed. You did something to me. Dracula's eyes appeared beneath the bed, calm and unblinking. I opened something, he corrected. I hear things, Clara said. I feel them before they happen. Yes, I don't want to, she whispered. Dracula considered her for a long moment. The night does not ask permission, he said finally. It only reveals what is already possible. Clara's hands clenched into fists. Am I like you? The question hung in the air, heavy and dangerous. Dracula's eyes softened, not with kindness, but with honesty. No, he said, and not yet. Fear and relief collided in her chest. Will I be? That depends on what you do with what you see. Clara shook her head. I don't want to hurt anyone. Dracula's voice lowered, becoming almost thoughtful. Neither did I, he said. The admission startled her. You hurt people, Clara said. I take from them, Dracula replied. The difference matters more than you know. She didn't understand, but she felt the truth of his words press against her thoughts, demanding patience. Why me? She asked again. Dracula's gaze shifted, as if looking through her instead of at her. Because you noticed the dark without fearing it. Because you looked and did not scream. Because you listened. The lamp flickered again, dimmer this time. And because the night needs witnesses, he added. Clara hugged her knees to her chest. I don't want to be special. Dracula's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger, but in recognition. Neither did I. For the first time, Clara sensed something beneath his presence. Not hunger, not menace. Loneliness. The realization unsettled her more than fear ever had. The room slowly returned to normal. The shadows loosened. The lamp steadied. Sleep, Dracula said. Tomorrow will be louder. And you? Clara asked. The eyes began to fade. I will watch, he replied, as I always do. When he was gone, Clara lay back against her pillow, staring at the ceiling. She understood now that the problem was not that Dracula visited her at night. It was that he had taught her how to hear the world the way he did. And once you learn that, you can never unhear it. The fourth night was the first time the house noticed Clara. Not her parents. Not the neighbors. The house itself. She woke before midnight to a sound that did not belong to the world of day. With tightening, walls settling, the slow complaint of structure remembering its age. The house breathed differently now, as if it had learned something it could not forget. Clara sat up in bed, heart steady but alert. The darkness did not rush to greet her. It waited. She slid her feet onto the floor, feeling the cool boards beneath her toes. The space under the bed remained still, but she felt a tension there, like a held breath. I'm awake, she said softly. The room responded, not with Dracula's voice, but with awareness. Every shadow sharpened. Every quiet sound gained meaning. The ticking clock in the hallway slowed, stretching the seconds thin. Clara stood and walked to the door. The handle felt warmer than it should have. She opened it a crack and peered into the hallway. Moonlight filtered through the window at the far end, casting long, distorted shapes across the floor. The house felt vast in a way it never had before, each doorway a mouth that could speak if it wished. Clara stepped out. She knew, without knowing how, that she was not supposed to do this. The floor creaked beneath her weight, louder than usual, as if protesting her movement. She froze, listening. No footsteps followed. No voices. Her parents slept on, unaware. She walked slowly toward the stairs. Halfway there, she felt it, a shift in the air behind her. Not a presence, exactly, more like a recognition. You move differently now, Dracula said, his voice touching her thoughts without coming from anywhere. Clara did not turn around. You said you would watch. I am. Then help me, she whispered. Something's wrong. Dracula did not answer immediately. She reached the top of the stairs and looked down. The darkness below seemed deeper than it should have been, swallowing the lower floor entirely. The front door was visible at the bottom, solid, locked, familiar, yet it felt impossibly far away. The house remembers every fear, Dracula said at last. You are hearing its memory. Clara's throat tightened. I don't want to hear it. You already do. A sound rose from below, not footsteps, but a soft, dragging noise, like fabric brushing against wood. Clara's heart sped up for the first time that night. That's not you, she said. Dracula's presence sharpened. No. The sound stopped. Then came a whisper, not in her mind, but in the air itself. A child's voice, too quiet to understand. Clara took a step back. Who's there? She asked, hating the tremor in her voice. The whisper grew clearer, sadder. Her own name. Do not answer, Dracula warned. Clara pressed her hands over her ears, but the sound slipped through anyway, crawling along her thoughts. She saw flashes of images, children crying, shadows under beds, nights full of watching eyes. Not just her fear. Everyone's. The house had collected them. I can't make it stop, she said, tears burning. Please. Dracula appeared then, not beneath the bed, not in shadow, but standing beside her in the hallway, tall, pale, real in a way he had never been before. He placed a hand on the wall. The house shuddered. The whispers faded instantly, retreating like water pulled back by the tide. The darkness loosened its grip, returning to its proper places. Clara collapsed to her knees, shaking. Dracula looked down at her, his expression unreadable. This is why I chose you, he said quietly. Not because you see me, but because you can endure what others leave behind. I don't want this, Clara sobbed. Dracula crouched in front of her, his voice low and steady. The night chooses its listeners carefully, but it does not decide what they become. He rose, already beginning to fade. You stopped something tonight. Remember that. What was it? Clara asked desperately. Dracula paused. A fear that learned how to speak. When he was gone, the hallway felt empty again, just wood walls and moonlight. Clara returned to her room and climbed back into bed, pulling the blanket up to her chin. The space beneath the bed remained dark, but for the first time, it felt quiet. The house slept again, and Clara lay awake, understanding something new. Seeing Dracula had not made her weaker. Listening to the night had not broken her. It had made her responsible. And responsibility, she was learning, was far more frightening than monsters. After that night, Clara stopped pretending she was normal. Not because she wanted attention, not because she felt special, but because pretending required silence, and silence no longer belonged to her. The house was calm again, yet watched her now the way an old animal watches a new caretaker. Doors opened more easily when she touched them. Floorboards creaked less beneath her feet, as if learning her weight. Shadows stayed where they were supposed to, unless she asked them not to. She did not tell her parents. They would not hear what she heard. They would not understand why the dark felt layered, why night had depth instead of emptiness. Explaining would only make them afraid of her. And Clara had learned something important. Fear attracted attention. At school, things grew worse. Not louder, but clearer. She could sense when someone was about to cry before tears formed. She felt tension before arguments broke out. Once, she flinched just seconds before a teacher dropped a stack of books, the sound crashing through the room like a gunshot. People began to notice. "Are you okay?" they asked. "You look tired," her teacher said gently. Clara nodded. She always nodded. That afternoon, Lucy followed her home. "You're weird lately," Lucy said, not unkindly. "You stare like you're listening to something no one else can hear." Clara stopped walking. Lucy took another step and froze. "Don't," Clara said softly. Lucy blinked. "Don't what?" Clara closed her eyes. She felt it instantly, a shift in the air, a tightening behind her ribs. The hunger of the dark, not Dracula's, but the world's. The way fear could gather if allowed. "Go home," Clara said. "Please." Lucy laughed nervously. "You're scaring me." "I know." And that was the worst part. Lucy backed away, unsettled, and ran down the street. Clara watched her go, chest tight. That night, Clara did not wait in her bed. She sat on the floor, back against the wall, knees pulled close, eyes fixed on the space beneath the bed. "I need to understand," she said. The darkness answered immediately. Dracula's eyes appeared, steady and alert. "Understanding is costly," he warned. "I already paid," Clara replied. Dracula emerged slightly farther than usual, his presence filling the room without overwhelming it. "You frightened another child today," he said. Clara flinched. "I didn't mean to." Intent does not erase impact. She swallowed. "Then tell me how to stop." Dracula studied her for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried no mockery. "You cannot stop seeing," he said, "but you can choose how you are seen." "What does that mean?" "Power draws eyes," Dracula replied. "So does restraint." He leaned closer, shadows clinging to his form. "The night watches you now. Others will feel it, even if they do not know why." Clara hugged her knees. "I don't want to hurt anyone." Dracula nodded slowly. "Then you must learn distance." "Distance from what?" "From fear," he said. "From curiosity. From the urge to prove what you are becoming." Clara frowned. "Is that what happened to you?" Dracula did not answer right away. When he did, his voice was quieter. "Once, I wanted to be understood." The admission settled heavily between them. "I don't," Clara said. "I just want to be left alone." Dracula's eyes softened. "That is why you may survive this." A sound rose outside, the wind moving through the trees, carrying something with it. Not danger. Not yet, but attention. Dracula straightened. "Others are listening now," he said. "Not like me. Not yet." Clara's heart raced. "What others?" "Things that notice change," Dracula replied. "Things drawn to those who hear too much." "Can you stop them?" Dracula shook his head. "No, but I can teach you how not to invite them." He stepped back, shadows reclaiming him. "Do not reach out," he warned. "Do not test what you feel. And never, never answer voices that call your name in the dark." Clara nodded. tears slipping down her cheeks. "Will you keep watching?" Dracula's presence faded, but his final words lingered. "I always do." When the room returned to normal, Clara lay back on her bed, staring at the ceiling. She understood now. Seeing Dracula had not made her dangerous. Being seen by the night had, and the price of being seen was learning how to disappear, without losing herself in the dark. Clara learned how to disappear, not in the way people imagine, no vanishing acts, no shadow swallowing her whole. It was quieter than that, smaller. She learned to lower her gaze when the dark stirred, to steady her breathing when the air thickened, to let fear pass through her, without giving it a place to stay. Weeks went by. The house slept peacefully again. Her parents laughed at the dinner table. Lucy avoided her at school, but the distance felt like mercy. Clara kept to herself, listening without reacting, seeing without reaching. And the night behaved, until the night it didn't. It began with a sound too soft to be real, a whisper that did not belong to the room. Clara, she froze in her bed, heart hammering. Dracula's warning echoed in her mind. Never answer voices that call your name in the dark. The whisper came again, closer now. Clara, it did not come from under the bed. It came from the hallway. She squeezed her eyes shut, counted her breaths. 1, 2, 3. The whisper grew impatient. "We see you." The door creaked, just a little. Moonlight stretched across the floor like a pale hand. The temperature dropped, sharp and sudden, as if the house had exhaled something old. Clara sat up slowly. She did not call for her parents. She did not scream. Instead, she whispered the only name that had ever answered: Dracula. The shadows beneath her bed gathered instantly, thickening, folding inward. His eyes appeared first, brighter than she had ever seen them. "You broke a rule," he said, not unkindly. "I didn't answer," Clara whispered. "I listened." Dracula emerged fully now, his presence sealing the room like a door being locked from the inside. "They are not like me," he warned. "They do not wait." The hallway darkened beyond the crack in the door. Something shifted there, wrong angles, too many thoughts moving at once. Clara's hand shook. "What do they want?" Dracula's gaze never left the door. "What all watchers want," he said. "Permission." The whisper returned, sharper now, layered with others. "She belongs to the night." Dracula stepped forward, placing himself between Clara and the door. The room seemed to bend around him, shadows deepening in respect or fear. "No," he said. The word carried weight. History, blood and centuries pressed into a single sound. The darkness recoiled. For a moment, Clara thought it was over. Then the floor creaked. Not outside, behind Dracula. Clara gasped. Under the bed. Dracula turned too late. The shadows there moved independently now, stretching, peeling away from his control. Eyes open within them, not red, but pale and hungry. Dracula snarled, a sound ancient and furious. He slammed his hand down, shadows exploding outward like smoke. Enough. The room shook. The whispers screamed, not in pain, but in frustration, and retreated, slipping back into cracks of the world where they belonged. Silence fell. Real silence. Dracula stood still for a long time. When he finally turned to Clara, his expression was not cold. It was weary. "This was the last time," he said. Clara's throat tightened. "Are you leaving?" "Yes." Tears filled her eyes. "Because of me?" Dracula considered her carefully. "Because you no longer need me." "I don't feel strong," she said. "Strength is not loud," he replied. "It is knowing when not to answer." He knelt so they were eye level. "You were never meant to follow the dark," he said softly, "only to survive it." Clara wiped her cheeks. "Will I ever see you again?" Dracula's lips curved into something almost like a smile. "If you do," he said, "it will mean the night has grown careless." He stepped back, his form dissolving into shadow, into memory. Before he vanished completely, he left her with one final truth. "The dark is not evil," he said, "but it is always watching." When morning came, Clara woke to sunlight on her walls and birds at the window. The house felt ordinary again. She went to school. She spoke when spoken to. She laughed at the right moments. No one ever knew what she had seen. Years later, as an adult, Clara would sometimes wake at midnight and glance beneath her bed. Not out of fear, but habit. She never saw the eyes again, but she always felt them blink somewhere far away, watching, and choosing wisely now not to be seen.